got a pretty stacked roster here compared to other WBCs, at least. And I'm wondering how much you think when Mike Trout threw his name in, like right off the top, did that kind of trickle to other players?
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. I think in my talks with Mike, he made it pretty clear that clock's ticking on his career, and he didn't know if he'd be able to do it a little later on, and this was the perfect opportunity. He felt like he missed out the last one, 2017, and he didn't want to have any regrets, so he was one of the first commitments. Tony Regans did an unbelievable job getting him, and that was just trickle-down effect with Harper and Mookie Betts. Obviously, Harper's got a pass because of the Tommy John, so we had a Kyle Schwarber, which isn't a bad thing. So, yeah, for the most part, everyone, Goldschmidt had done it in 17, Arenado the same thing. I've spoken to pretty much everybody who's currently on the roster, and to a man, they're all super excited.
It seems like they should try to build unity as quickly as possible. To have Goldschmidt and Arenado together, does that help you with that cohesion thing?
Yeah, I think for me, yeah, that's certainly going to help guys who have done it. I think that's the biggest thing. I was a part of it in 09, and I felt like it was the second year, the second time of its existence, and we kind of walked in like, is this an exhibition? Is this a competition? There was a lot of feeling out before we got like smacked in the mouth playing in front of 40,000 people. So I think that's since changed, obviously. Yeah, that will be the overriding theme for me with these guys, because obviously, talent-wise, I'm not sit there and browbeat them with fundamentals and bunt defenses, but it's going to be more like, how do we gel as a team? How do we create kind of an energy and a style of play that comes together quick?
There's always going to be an awkwardness to this event when it takes place during spring training, and there's always going to be resistance to that. But we're seeing more stars participate, just primarily driven by the U.S., but we also got Ohtani's in it, and DR has incredible pitching stuff. Do you feel like this event is kind of catching on to that?
Yeah, I do. I do. Completely different from the experience for myself in 09. I remember it. Jake Peavy was like Cy Young Award winner, but it was like he was throwing 85 at Dodger Stadium. Roy Oswalt, like they just weren't prepared. And from an offensive standpoint, we weren't prepared. We went up against Japan, and Daisuke and Yu Darvish were like mid-season form, and we're like, whoa, like kind of you get punched in the face. I think now the guys realize what it takes to be on this team. You got to prepare a little bit earlier. The calls I've had, like Arenado, I talked to him the other day, and he's already working out and hitting and ready to rock, and talking to some of the pitchers, they've kind of amped their preparation up by a couple weeks to be ready to go. So this won't be. That was the big thing for me. This isn't a spring training game and whatever happens, and you're just preparing a ramp up for the season. It has to. That idea has to stop for 3.5 weeks. I mean, because I'm sure Sandy Alcantara's coming in ready to rock, ready to go. So I would hope that the guys that are on the starting rotation, a la the Adam Wainwrights, the Logan Webbs, will be exactly the same.
How much work is Mike Trout actually having to go?
Yeah, we were talking about that. I think everybody wants to play with him. I think that was a trickle-down effect to Harper. That was the huge thing for Mike. Mike felt like him and Harper have been on parallel tracks throughout the course of their career from the draft, and he wanted to be a part of being in the locker room with him. And then Harper trickled down to Mookie, and then from Mookie, who doesn't want to play with those three guys? So it kind of like snowballed from a position player standpoint. And now I think as we get towards the end, I mean, the roster does have some moving parts on it still. But I notice, at least from my phone's perspective, that every time an all-in tweet goes out, I get 2 phone calls. So it's like, oh, he's playing, I want to be a part of it. I couldn't imagine bypassing an opportunity to be even in this locker room. So, I have to get over that as well.
Have you talked to Bieber at all?
I have not. My goal, I talked to Jim Leland at length obviously the manager in 17, ton of respect. He's the best. And his big thing is your number one goal is to create team unity as quick as possible and to deliver these guys healthy back to their parent club. So I understand the trepidations from some teams as far as who they're willing to let play on it from a pitching standpoint. From a position player standpoint, who doesn't want like big time at bats against the best pitchers? And it could only be a positive from a position player standpoint, in my opinion. But I do understand some of the trepidation. So I've stayed out of those conversations. There's some protocols as far as team and agent and player as far as wanting to go. So yeah, there has been. I mean, we've cast a wide net. Tony's done an unbelievable job as far as that's concerned. But yeah, there's been some guys.
Question for like, you know how the dream teams have always kept college players or young players to like, you know, give them that experience. Is your roster going to have?
I think Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be that player for us. To be honest with you, I mean, a guy who has come through the high school ranks and the Team USA ranks as the guy. He was adamant about wanting to be a part of this, wanting to be in the room with those guys, wanting to just, like, it wasn't about playing time. He's like, I just want to be around these players, see how they operate, see what a superstar does on a daily basis to get ready for a season and kind of pick up the slack in any way possible. I said, you might end up being our best player. I mean, who knows, right? Everyone gets hot at different times throughout the course of spring training, but he's that kind of guy. But then there's other guys. I mean, I know, the Adley Rutschmans of the world. You can understand why the Orioles would want him in spring training with Baltimore, working with their pitching staff. So there's a lot of that, like how much playing time you're going to get, as opposed to what it means to your team.
As much as it means to baseball, as far as just building this team, being on the global stage as far as growing the game and showcasing these superstars that you guys have assembled, how important is it on the national level to be able to have black baseball players to showcase to the young people and to the fans to be able to grow the game even further around the country? Yeah,
no doubt. I think Tony Regan's that's one of his main initiatives when working in the commissioner's office. For us, there had to be an African-American presence on this roster, and it's easy. I mean, Mookie, Cedric Mullins, Devin Williams out of the bullpen. I'm forgetting one. I know I am. But, yeah, I think that's an overriding kind of initiative with the Players Alliance and reaching out to communities. I deal with it on a youth level. My son's going through that travel ball 13, and I do believe in my heart there are kids that get left behind and lost in the shuffle that shouldn't. Super talented kids. So Tony's done an amazing job trying to kind of right that wrong. But yeah, on a national level for us, I think it's more, you just see how fired up the Dominican team is and how fired up Puerto Rico is and how fired up Japan is to come in and try and win this thing. I think that we're starting to see that groundswell with the U.S. winning in 17 and the guys that are willing to play on this roster that, hey, wait a second, for 3.5 weeks we can put pause on spring training and go out there and kind of match their energy.
You talk about the coaching staff that you guys were able to assemble and have those veterans and have that type of presence on the coaching staff to be able to get to the players as well as the young players that you have on the squad as well.
Yeah, I think for me too, not only like the Ken Griffey Jr.'s, who doesn't want to be around Ken Griffey Jr., honestly. Andy Pettit, the list goes on. I think for me the big thing is a lot of these guys on the coaching staff have played in the tournament. And that was Ken's thing. Like, how do we get these guys to understand that they're just not leaving spring training to relax for 3.5 weeks? How do we get them to understand that we got to come together and try and win ball games as quick as possible? So, yeah, the credentials in the back of the baseball card for a lot of these guys speak for themselves, but the fact that they're willing to put USA on and the fact that they realize after their experience how important it was, I think was kind of that overriding factor.
Are you scratching an itch here to managing this team?
No.
No?
And you know what? I've kind of gone back and forth with that.
Yeah.
For me personally, like, I was blown away a couple years ago by teams' interest in even, kind of just gets rolling down the track with that. Hey, you'd make a good manager, or this guy would make a good manager. And then going through a couple of those interview processes, I was like, man, you're not like actually going after these jobs. I was more interviewing the teams than they were in. And, you're not getting it. You're not getting a job that way. And in talking to some of my guys that currently manage, Aaron Boone's, Cora, AJ Hinch, guys that I played against, they always said to me, like, if you ever want to do this, you got to go in and grab it. And I had never done that. So when Tony called me to interview, I kind of know who I'm up against. I'm not up against the current managers. I'm more up against, like, the Mike Shoshas, Jim Lelands, Joe Maddens, the guys that have done it. I just remember the car ride over to New York from New Jersey, Secaucus, kind of being like, all right, like kind of firing myself up. I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to, God, just put that uniform on, be in a room with the greatest players this country has to offer, and kind of bring my little energy shtick to the whole thing, to be honest with you. I'm not worried about it leading to anything. I just want to do right by USA.
Will your team prep meetings just be a bunch of breakdowns then?
No, not at all.
How exciting is it to have a player like Trevor Story on your roster?
Yeah, and he was one of the first guys that was named to the roster. Yeah, he's going to play second base. He'll probably move to short for a little bit, I'm sure. Mookie Betts is going to play a little second base. Our roster's not completely done. We might add that kind of utility player, maybe one or more of those position player guys to kind of help us out. But yeah, obviously I've known Trevor for a while. Talking to him, he couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. The nice thing I've gotten, listen, there's so many superstars on this roster. It's hard to say this is who we're going to run out day one, and this is who's going to be a backup. I think there's this beautiful theme that these guys have created. Hey, whatever you need me to do, and that's for the most part everybody that I've talked to has been exactly that. Whatever you need me to do. So I'm sure Trevor will play a ton of up the middle.
You were a teammate of Adam Wainwright. You know how crazy competitive he is. Can you just talk about the process of selecting him?
I was kind of a no-brainer. He actually threw me a text message and kind of put his hat in the ring. And then I called Tony and was kind of like, Adam Wainwright be perfect for this rotation. Not only to pitch and what he's been able to do, but kind of lead it with Andy Pettitte. So that was the big thing. That was a quick, let's get him on board and make him, a part of the starting rotation. So, and now he's secretly recruiting for us.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Did he recruit Kershaw?
We'll see. Hopefully he did a great job. We'll see. I mean, obviously, I've tried to lay low in this whole process, but I have kind of reached out to a few guys from a pitching standpoint that I feel would be awesome for them to be a part of this. And we'll see what happens with that.
Balance the fact of obviously wanting to go out and win and be competitive, but also returning these guys that are probably healthy, especially from your seat. Yeah,
I think from a pitching standpoint, I kind of know or will know what's being asked on a day-to-day basis from the parent club, and I'll follow that. I'm not going to try and be a hero and not listen to because that will be the main thing. Yes, I want to win this, but I can't have teams lose their season with guys going down because I didn't follow protocol. So I will 100%. Guy got 50 pitches. He's cruising. I'm going to go get him at 49. I might go get him at 20. I don't know. The bullpen's going to be absolutely stacked, so there's no reason to hesitate. Hey, you can finish throwing your 30 pitches in the pen.
Andrew Friedman said yesterday to have these pitchers commit now where they can get with their teams is important instead of like it popping up in January. Do Do you feel like that's fair?
Yeah, I was talking about it earlier. I feel like the commitments now just kind of benefit the player just from a standpoint of ramping up a little bit differently. When I did it in 09, we kind of approached it more like an exhibition than a competition, and our pitchers were behind. You know, the Jake Peavies, the Roy Oswalds that are used to sitting at 94, 95, we're sitting at 88, 89. You're not gonna get through Dominican and Japan and all these teams at that. So I just, in talking to a lot of the pitchers and position players, they're adjusting their off-season workouts to be ready to go.
What's the goal for Kershaw? Because yesterday he talked about, he has some interest and he's already had some preliminary talks with the team.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to announce anything before Tony Regans announces it, so it's good. I would love to have him, but I ain't going to say he's 100% in it until I see that tweet.
Mark, the Team Japan have Darvish and Otani. Team Japan has Darvish and Otani. What do you describe? And
well, I hope Otani pitches the day before. I mean, obviously, two of the best pitchers in the game. I followed for a long time, so he's always been, top of the food chain as far as pitching staffs go. Shohei, he's a unicorn, right? So he's one of my favorite players to watch on a nightly basis, preparing for my show, and he's only getting better on the mound. And what I love about watching Shohei is he's just not, here's my fastball, breaking ball, hit it. He's a pitcher out there. Like, some days he doesn't have good command. He'll go to his off speed. I am blown away at what he's able to do. I always say he's getting a chance to do what a majority of the big leaguers did when they were 10 and 11 years old. He's doing it at the highest level. So I don't know how. Go down as one of the greatest ball players of all time.
You mentioned your show. How does maybe the translate as a manager for this team?
I think for me, it's more like the reason I love the show and love doing is because I love the game. I love the players. I know how hard it is to go out there on a daily basis and put yourself out there to be, for everybody, especially in the social media age where you just get shredded. That's the biggest thing for me. My passion for creating team, and being on 8 teams in my career. I've been a part of every division, kind of understanding, different organizational philosophies, how they handle their players a little bit differently. So, yeah, that's my biggest thing. I grew up as a kid that I grew up in New Jersey. I watched every Yankee game with my dad 7 o'clock at night like it was clockwork. My son doesn't do that with me. I mean, he gets it in blasts on Snapchat, but. So I have a love for the game and a love for the players, and everyone's got a different story as how they got to the big leagues. So, yeah, I just want to be a part of it.
The challenge of trying to retain as many players.
At the end of the day, it's up to the players. I mean, I will do my best not to mess up. I will follow the parent club's kind of protocols to how they want their pitchers used and do my best to come up with plan A, B, C, D, and E. I will not script anything. I think it's good, as the game progresses, it'll let you know. Yeah, I'd love nothing more than to repeat, but guys got to hit, catch, throw strikes. It's not going to be easy. There's some good teams out there.
You've been complimentary of Tommy Edman.
Yeah.
With the Dream Team,
yeah.
You learned the value of having those utility-type guys. Could he be a guy that appeals to you for that role who could play?
Yeah, absolutely. From a pick, I have left most of that stuff to Tony, and then he'll contact me. We have not spoken about Tommy Edman, but certainly that type of player, no doubt.
Well, you mentioned being from Jersey, all you've done in this game. Any moment or two that sticks with you from your time at Penn, you carry with you to now?
Wow. I think for me, putting myself in uncomfortable positions. That was another one. I could have took the easy road out, went to a couple different schools, and had a little bit of easier time in the classroom and concentrated and focused more on the sporting side of it. I knew I was, you talk about going and competing. I knew every time I walked into the classroom, I was undermanned, So I thought it was a huge opportunity again I always had visions of playing in the big leagues, but in case it didn't happen, I wanted to put myself in the best position to be successful after college. So that's why I chose to go there. And they don't put your GPA, at least back then, they didn't put your GPA on resumes. So I'm like, if I can find a way to gut it out and get through this, I'd be better off for it.
Still in touch with the baseball team now?
Yes, I am, actually. Yeah, they had a good year last year.
Last couple of years.
Yeah.
Some nice talent.
Yeah.
You mentioned how many superstars, you were saying you played a bit of second. How all those different moving parts, when we see it in baseball today, the versatility of guys for this team in particular.
I can't imagine at that point, I don't want to speak too soon because I'm going to talk with every guy as to what their expectations are, and then the teams as to what their playing time expectations are. I can't imagine right out of the gate guys are going to go 9 innings. I'm sure there'll be a few. And there's too many good guys on the team to just turn around and sit there. So I got to believe a lot of guys, at least early in pool play, there's going to be a lot of moving parts, or in the exhibition games leading into it. And then my desire is when we get to Miami, or if and when and hope we get to Miami, that the hot players play. And try and win it.
What's the greatest World Baseball Classic moment in
I mean, for me, it was when David Wright hit a little blooper to right field against Puerto Rico, and we all rushed the field. But I would think the thing that's jumping in my mind is Adam Jones robbing his teammate. And then talking to Team Israel manager Ian Kinsler, I played with Ian, and I knew Jim Leland did a great job. He ran out Kins and Adam Jones and Hosmer and Yelich, who was a young player at the time. He was running those guys out repeatedly. So I'm interested to see if I want the player. I want to build something where the players are super honest with me. Don't give me the whole I'm going. I want to go 9 back-to-back days. If you really don't, there's too many good players here where we can massage it different ways. But certainly Mike Trout and Goldie and Betts and Arenado, and they're gonna command how it goes.
I'm sure you touched on this, but I was talking to the team, the coaching staff you're working with, top notch. Tell me a little bit something about some of those guys and what it's like to be part of that staff in general.
Well, Jerry Manuel's the bench coach. I mean, he speaks for himself. I love my conversations with him because he's deep and philosophical. So it's we're on that level. Andy Pettit, one of the best big game pitchers of all time. So for these guys to get a chance to be around him is going to be huge from a pitching standpoint. I'm going to have to get over the fanboy with the Ken Griffey Jr. thing and realize that I'm going to probably want to pencil him into the lineup at some point. For these players to get a chance to pick his brain and be around him for 3.5 weeks is going to be fantastic. Dave Righetti is the bullpen coach. He was my pitching coach in San Francisco for 2 years playing out there. Man, I followed Rags as a young kid pitching for the Yankees, so I know what he brings to the table. Dino Ebel, he's the one guy, he's my secret weapon. Third base coach for the Dodgers, just because a lot of us haven't had boots on the ground there in the big leagues for a while. He knows that the current game is his, so I've kind of empowered him to speak up whenever he feels he needs to. And Lou Collier is our first base coach. Played against Lou coming up through the minors. I actually run into Lou probably more than anyone on this staff because he's involved
Lou's kid's pretty good, yeah.
First round pick, coming through the whole perfect games, and I'm kind of going through that, so we'd see each other on the weekends. And then I'm going to bring two guys with me, in Michael Young and Brian McCann, who are my best buddies in the game, and two guys that I need to know some guys are going to take a bullet for me, right?
I got you, D-Ro. I'm not going to put you on the spot. I appreciate you. Thank you.
How are you?
Very good.
Yeah, nice to see you again.
Yeah. So how much time are you going to have when you gather in Phoenix to get going?
Yeah, I just wanted March 4th.
I'm going to find out.
Yeah, it's right in that first week of March, and we're gonna have about so we're gonna have about 3 workouts, and then we have 2 exhibition games.
I saw that.
And I think it's the Angels and the Giants, and then we'll get into it.
And where are you based? What spring training center?
Scottsdale, San Francisco. Yeah.
So you're using their facilities or their main facilities?
I would assume that'd be the case.
Probably their minor league facility
Yeah.
out on Hayden Road.
Oh, okay.
Probably use that, not the stadium.
They don't have that. I moved over to where the A's used to be.
Okay, well,
is that where they're at?
Yeah, that's where they're at. Yeah.
And they totally redid it. So it's really fantastic.
I think, and you know better than I do, but I think they're supposed to work out in the morning as a group, and then we get field in the afternoon.
Yeah. That's nice because I played there for 2 years, so I know that place.
It's changed a little.
Yeah.
Does it concern you, having covered the first 4 of these, that, Japan and Korea get going like during the winter and start getting training for this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, control what you can control, right? I feel like the U.S. players and the guys that have committed have already started working out and ramping up. I think this thing has kind of completely changed than when I was a part of it in 09.
Right.
I really do. I think, starting in 06 and then 09, I think for a lot of us, it was an opportunity to be in a clubhouse with some of the game's greats, put USA and represent our country across our chest, and go out there and kind of put a show on for the fans. I think that's since changed, seeing the passion from the other countries, and then seeing the passion from, like our current GM, Tony Regans, and like, hey, let's get it rolling. So I think our players have approached it completely different. After listening to guys like, I've talked to Adam Jones, I've talked to Ian Kinsler, I've talked to Jim Leland a ton. It's different. And then talking to the players, complete difference. Like Nolan Arenado, spoke with him last week, he's already rolling. So I think a lot of guys are saying.
You played for Davey Johnson's team?
Yeah.
I remember correctly.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So you followed Buck, Davey, Joe, pretty legit.
Yeah.
Lineage, huh?
Yeah, I played for Buck too. Humbled and honored. Try and do what I did as a player, right? Create clubhouse chemistry and team chemistry as quickly as possible. It's the game's great. I mean, it's our game's greatest, some of our greatest players. So I'm not going to kill them with fundamentals. We'll go over a few things because I think some teams are going to realize you're not just going to beat us sitting back waiting for the long ball. So I'm sure there's going to be some teams from different countries that try certain avenues to score. I want to make sure that the guys understand, we're still going to do some fundamental stuff.
How do you feel just coming into kind of your first manager job?
Try not to make it any bigger than it is, right? Know the game. Trust my gut.
Let the players play.
Let the players play. We'll win if they hit and pitch, catch the ball.
Isn't that the way it always is?
Yeah.
I thought Leland did the best job. He did an unbelievable job at that.
He always does, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he is the perfect guy for that. I think for me, talking to him, his biggest thing was, the players are the show, but you have to be the conductor. Kind of, get them to understand that this is important. It's important to put USA across your chest. If you're coming here to mess around, we're going to ask you to leave. So.
Yeah, that's what he did.
Yeah.
He said if you don't want to pitch today, and you have a pitch day in Florida, go to Florida. He did that with a couple of guys.
And you might not come back.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. I don't want to. People have asked me that. Will the team change? Listen, when we did, again, I keep going back to 09 because that's all I know. guys were getting nicked up and leaving, and I don't know necessarily if some of them should have left or how hurt they were. It was just, I felt like there was one or two guys different in the clubhouse every day. I would like it to stay. When we get our 30, barring injury, I'd like to ride with that 30. I don't want guys saying, oh, well, I'll pitch for you if you make it to Miami or vice versa. No, like, I want to create the 30 we're going with.
I think 09 was the most chaotic.
Yeah, it was kind of obliques and hammies. And
right, I remember that. And you went to the semifinals against Japan with like a team that wasn't the makeup of the guys you had originally.
It wasn't. And it was funny because Davey pinch hit, I remember that game like it was yesterday, and Davey pinch hit Longoria in a big spot. And Longo had just gotten there, and kind of the guys that were there were like, wow, it's tough. That's a tough spot to put him in. But that's where we were at that time, I think. The way guys go about it. What's that?
Good bracket in Arizona.
Yeah.
The Jets should be fine. Well, good luck.
Thank you.
I'll see you all the way.
All right.
Look forward to it. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
How
are you? Nice to see you. Yeah.
We were just talking to the commissioner earlier. He was saying how excited he is to have a WBC next year, and then all the teams, different country has so many talented players. But I know you probably said this already, but how excited for you to be a manager of the USA and have so many talented players?
Yeah, I'm trying to temper my excitement. All I keep thinking about is what I'm going to say the first, meeting when the door's shut. Got the greatest players in the world playing in this thing, competing at the highest level. It's such an opportunity for them to go out and kind of represent their country, have fun with it, understand the passion behind it, and put on such a show for the fans. So for me to be in the room with the Mike Trouts and the Mookie Betts, listen, I'm a fan. I want to watch how they prepare, but at the same time, get them to buy into team as quick as possible. And our coaching staff has some pretty good credentials too. I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. walking in the room is going to change everybody's tune. So, yeah, I just think I'm humbled and honored to kind of represent our country and want to do right by it.
Is there any concern for the workload for the player who's different, maybe for the starting pitcher?
No, the way I'm approaching it is two things. A, I obviously want to win, and that will be the overriding thing. The theme is to try and win this thing, but at no point jeopardizing a parent club's superstar. I want them all to leave healthy and with a great experience and go back and try and win a World Series. So I would assume that the teams would have kind of a daily protocol for each of their pitchers, what's expected. From a starter, he's going to throw 50 pitches this game. 4 days later, it might be a little bit different. For a reliever, probably won't go back-to-back days. So, yeah, I'm going to honor that. There's too many good players for me to feel like this one guy has to be the be-all, end-all.
We're talking about good players. I work for the Japanese papers. I want to ask about Team Japan, but Japan also has a Darvish, announced yesterday also Shohei Ohtani also playing for the Team Japan. But you guys played with the Olympics last year for 2020. But if you guys are going to face the Team Japan again, what would be kind of tactic to
I'm not telling you. It's funny, I played in 09 and we lost to Japan in the semifinals, and that was kind of my first look at you, Darvish. Not surprised by their talent. I mean, Ohtani's, you could argue he's the best player in the game, right? Best player in the world, what he's able to do. Listen, it's about respect your opponent, fear none of them. It's baseball at the end of the day. It'll be up to the players to perform, get hits. A lot of these guys have been in the box against you and Shohei. I'm sure the world would just love to see Shohei face off against Mike Trout, two teammates going head to head. So, yeah, I know what Japan brings to the table. Obviously, expect them to be there in the end. We'll see.
Do you prefer the pitching Shohei or the Shohei as a hitter? It doesn't matter.
He's so good at both. I mean, honestly, he's such a fast base runner as well. His maturity as a pitcher this year kind of took the next step. I mean, because he's not a guy who when he doesn't have his blazing fastball, is not going to be effective. He's got a split, got the slider, he's got a feel for what he's doing out there. Yeah, so he took the next step. We did the all MLB team yesterday. He was first team pitcher, second team DH. I mean, it's crazy. It really is crazy. He's playing like what we used to do at 12 years old in our town little league. He's doing against the greatest players in the world. So nothing but respect.
Maybe you're gonna ask Trout a lot about how to.
I'm sure he's gonna. Yeah, well, I'm sure we'll have some secrets in there.
Do you have a chance to talk to Logan Webb?
I haven't spoken to him yet. I have not spoken to him yet.
You expect him to pitch for you now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I love everything about him. I love his stuff. I love his moxie on the mound. You target certain guys. I mean, obviously you cast a wide net. You try and get the game's grades to buy in, but Logan was certainly on the short list. We kind of had to wait and see with the Giants. They were willing to let us use him. But yeah. Who? We did not. That was when I got the managerial spot. It was Turner and Tim Anderson. Yeah. Everybody who does it, you can't not. You can't not. But it's funny. Buster moved close to me, so I see him a lot. Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. He said it was one of the best experiences he was playing.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm asking for everybody. So I know that your team is a very talent, many talent. But if you choose to one player, who is the best player or key player in the
who's the best player on our roster?
Yeah, roster.
I'm not disrespecting a single guy, but obviously I think Mike Trout will go down as one of the 5 greatest players of all time. So to get a chance to be in the same dugout with him and manage him is I mean, thrill of a lifetime. I stay up I'm on the East Coast. I stay up all the time to watch West Coast just to watch him swing the baseball bat. So for me, how many games he missed this year, and he hit 40 plus homers. So he's the guy.
Okay, this last question. If how do you feel if Shohei Ohtani is going to the Team Japan and the WBC? How do you feel it?
I think it's huge. I mean, listen, Shohei, you could argue he's the best player in the world. What he's been able to do is unthinkable. I mean that. I don't think we love on him enough for what he's doing. I mean, 35 plus homers, a #1 starter. His value cannot be measured in the game, and the way he handles himself with such class and respect. He's different. He's global superstar. You know?
Thank you so much.
We got it. Yeah, what's going on? Good to see you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
You have obviously, I would imagine, the WBC's been around long enough that you have a perspective that maybe a little different than manager for the first or second, because you've seen this from the other side as well. You've seen, you know what the players that are participating in the WBC, kind of what the experience is like. What does that bring to you, now that you're in this one?
Yeah, I think, you try and work on not what you felt was a detriment in 09, but kind of the way we went about it as opposed to what it's become. I feel like in 09, when we first walked in as a team, there's a kind of a feeling out process. I think that's kind of got to go away quick.
Don't have long to do that either.
Paul Seiler, who runs USA, he does a great job. He said something to me that's it's resonated with me. He goes, you got to get them to understand that this is a competition, not an exhibition. And it's the truth. It's not 3.5 weeks. What's that?
Take a little time for the team to kind of, to flip that.
I think 2017 has kind of flipped it. I think the way the other countries have gone about it, the passion that they play with, and the guys signing up hand over fist to play in it has kind of changed the way the U.S. goes about it. I really do.
Obviously, I mean, it's an honor to be the manager of the U.S. team. It's also a responsibility.
Oh yeah. Try not to really think about that.
Again, congratulations, and also at the same time, but again,
I've written down 1,700 lineups. How do you make everyone happy? You can't. That's what you get to that point. I literally sit in bed at night and I'm like, all right, how could I ask this guy to go in for this guy after 5 innings? He's never caddied for anyone. I need more me's.
And you got really blue. There've been
exactly.
And that's nothing against you or Willie or anything like that. But you need some guys on the team that I'm the puzzle piece that fits.
No doubt.
Whatever you need to.
The one thing I've been blown away with in talking to all the guys that are pretty much locked on the team is Tony has done a great job of vetting that. To a man, they've all been like, whatever you need me to do. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt, whatever you need me to do. What I need you to do is play first and hit bombs.
Probably not going to put you third. Probably not, like that. It's going to be, you got to roll.
So I think he's created a, star-studded team, obviously, but done by design.
The other thing with that is, again, like you said, you said it, and I said it, like it's first, but it is also a responsibility. You're putting a lot of faith in the standard profile of the Team USA WBC manager.
It's not a morning show host.
Is maybe 2,000 wins. That's something that they, but how do you, when you go into that clubhouse?
Yeah, I'm going to be myself. It's worked up until this point. I love the game. I love the players. I have a ton of respect for what they do. I knew who I was as a player. But one of the things I did well, I felt, was to create a team that truly liked to be around each other and understood roles and understood that we were in it together and we were family and we could have those brutal conversations, and it was open and honest, and it created such an environment that guys, I always said this, my job is to get guys to come to the field a half hour earlier than they wanted or thought they wanted to, because it's that cool a place. I think that's been a little bit lost in today's game. I used to never want to leave.
You're hanging right at the Cardinals.
Again, the thing about it is if that momentum builds,
it's over with those players.
It's one of those moments that athletic players, electric players, things like that, where it's like, you know what, I look back on this one of the greatest moments of my baseball career. That's what his team is, right? Like, if it's done right, it can be.
It can be unbelievable.
Mark, give you a shit. Thank you. Is Joe still getting his phone?
I honestly don't know yet. Obviously, somebody we've talked to, and then he's climbing. Where's he in Antarctica, changing the world? Yeah. So all the personnel stuff, I kind of.
But you haven't gotten to this point.
No.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Aquí, en medio de la rivalidad Red Sox-Yankees, tengo que mandarle un saludo a todos los que ven la máquina deportiva. La máquina son ustedes, que tienen los motores encendidos y siguiendo béisbol, deporte, todos los días del año. Así que un beso para ustedes, soy Carolina Guillén, y un regalito para los fanáticos.